cleared the infection long ago. It's the residual effects of the toxin. But we do give antibiotics in case there are still some bacteria around. And then, it's supportive care. And that means if they are at that stage that they're not breathing for themselves, and actually just to manage the pain is so bad that simple analgesics won't help. And really, you're doing an anaesthetic partly to keep somebody safe to breathe for them, but also because it's the only thing you can do to stop the pain. So you give them an anaesthetic, you put them on a breathing machine. We use big doses of magnesium. Magnesium is an electrolyte. It's a salt that's found naturally in your body, but it actually acts as a muscle relaxant. So we use magnesium. We use big doses of things like Valium. And actually, one of the things that triggers the spasms is any kind of stimulus. So even like a breeze blowing against the skin can be enough to trigger this total body cramp. So we keep people very quiet, very still, in a dark room with as little stimulus as possible, and essentially keep them under an anaesthetic until the disease has run its course.
On ABC North Coast, you're listening to me, Joanne Shoebridge, and I'm speaking to Dr. Rachel Heap. She's an intensive care specialist at the Lismore Base Hospital and also a prominent member of the Northern Rivers Vaccination Supporters Group. How many times have you seen cases of tetanus in your career?
I've seen one myself, and it's left me with big scars. I don't ever want to see it again. It's not common because it's completely preventable by vaccine, but it doesn't matter whether anybody else is vaccinated around you. The tetanus bug, it's found everywhere. It's in the soil, it's in the earth, it's a naturally forming bacteria that's everywhere. It doesn't matter if everybody else around you has been vaccinated. If you're not, you are not protected. You've got the same risk as anybody ever has had throughout history.
And the vaccine itself, how successful is it?
It's brilliant. Yeah, it's very effective.
100%?
Look, we never say in medicine that anything is 100%. And forgive me, I actually don't know the immediate data off the top of my head. But it is a very effective vaccine. We know it's a very effective vaccine because we don't really see tetanus anymore. And that's only because it's been prevented by vaccine. As soon as you don't vaccinate, as I say, you've got the same risk as anybody who's ever had throughout history of getting tetanus.
Are there myths around what can and can't be done beyond the vaccine?
Yes, there are. There's quite a lot of strange rumours going around. One of the things is about the wounds, or kind of wounds that can cause tetanus, and what you can do to prevent it. So tetanus is what we call an anaerobic bacteria. That means that it doesn't thrive very well when oxygen is around. So one of the things that I've heard is that people think that if your wound is bleeding or if it's open to the air, that means that you can't get tetanus. Now, that is absolutely not true, because all it takes is one bug to not get a good oxygen supply, and that can multiply and it can release its toxins. And tetanus can live in a remarkable range of environments. The second thing is about the wound care. Now, we recommend that people with a tetanus-prone wound, they need to be vaccinated, and we also wash out those wounds with copious amounts of water. Topical treatment, as in treatment to the skin, will not guarantee to get rid of every single bacteria. As I say, it only takes one bacteria to release its spores, to release its toxin, and you get tetanus. No amount of wound cleaning can guarantee that that wound is going to be clean. And certainly putting things like tea tree or whatever in the wound are going to not impact on your risk of tetanus. They're going to sting, and they're not going to help that wound to heal, and they're not going to do anything to reduce the risk of tetanus. So simple wound care, which is washing wounds out, is obviously very important. However, it is not enough to prevent tetanus.
If you've received a cut and you haven't been immunised, is it too late to then have a jab that prevents you getting tetanus?
No, it's not. So there's two types of prevention of tetanus. One is being up to date with your regular immunisation. So that means sticking to the childhood schedule and being immunised according to schedule. Also, as an adult, the current recommendations are that if you haven't had a booster since your childhood vaccinations, that you get one when you are 50. Because we know that immunity to tetanus can fade with time. So a booster at the age of 50, if you haven't had one between your childhood vaccinations and being 50. So A, you need to be vaccinated according to schedule. B, if you have a wound that is at risk of getting tetanus, in other words, it's in any way dirty. Now, it doesn't have to be obviously covered in soil or anything like that. It can happen if you get a rose thorn. A rose thorn prick is a common way to get tetanus, actually. So it can be a really, really trivial injury. It doesn't have to be a deep wound at all. You then get it's like a booster that you get immediately after the wound. One of the interesting things about tetanus is even if you survive the disease, that doesn't make you immune to it. The only way to be immune to it is to have the vaccine. But once you've got a wound, getting a booster on top of it helps your immune system to neutralise the toxin, because that's what you need to do. It's not really about the infection, it's about neutralising the toxin.
How does the vaccine work?
Okay, so the vaccine is what we call a toxoid vaccine. Now, that means it doesn't have any of the bacteria in it. It is not a live vaccine. There is absolutely no way it can cause tetanus or spread the disease. What it does is that it's got something that looks a little bit like the toxin in it.
This is because the bacteria releases the toxin?
Yes, so the bacteria releases the toxin, and it's the toxin that does the damage. So in order to protect you, what you need to be able to do is neutralise the toxin. So the vaccine makes your body develop antibodies which will neutralise that toxin. So the vaccine isn't against the bacteria itself. The vaccine makes your own body's natural immune system protect you from the toxin.
Dr. Rachel Heap, who's an intensive care unit specialist at the Lismore Base Hospital, speaking there about the impact of tetanus on the body.